Hello, everyone. My name is Kirill. I'm a PhD student at the University of Zurich, and today I will present a research on measuring the disfluency effects in multilingual knowledge propping benchmarks. My talk will consist of several parts. First, we'll talk about the problems of the existing popular benchmarks for multilingual knowledge evaluation. Then I will introduce my experiments. I will mostly focus on prompt design, setup for LLM evaluation, and the data that I used. I will then briefly overview the results of the experiments and finally mention a couple of interesting qualitative observations that I made. So to begin with, there are several multilingual datasets for factual knowledge evaluation, which are usually translations of the English datasets. For example, MLLaMA, which is a translation of the monolingual Llama dataset, was used for translating into 53 languages. It took a particular relation type from the monolingual English data, which was in the form of a template. It translated the template with Google Translation, and then it took the translations of the entities that were needed to be inserted from the multilingual Wikidata database. But this method of slot filling does not work good for languages with a morphology richer than in English. For example, if we take Russian if we talk about Sofia Kovalevskaya, who was the first woman to be a full professor in maths, according to Russian grammar, the verb in that sentence has to be inflected in feminine gender. Yet here it uses the masculine gender, which makes the sentence grammatically incoherent, and that leads to poorer performance, to wrong most probable answer of the sentence. Now imagine that we have created this dataset for Russian in such a manner and prompted the models with all the questions translated into Russian and got a particular number, let's say 20%. Does that mean that the model does not know anything else, or does that mean that the model just didn't understand our disfluent sentences in the Russian? Now, the easiest solution is to firstly compile the sentences out of templates in English and then to translate the full sentences with the machine translation. This was even done in some other datasets. But the templated translation is still used broadly up until now, and there was no numerical estimation of how much we lose with the disfluent sentences. And we are trying to aim to fill this lacuna. Notably, the problems with the dataset exist even in the languages which do not have a rich morphology, let's say Chinese, because at the example of the relation, the capital of X is Y, the capital is translated to Chinese as 大写字母, which means capital letter, and therefore it also fails in factual retrieval. So to compare the loss in grammaticality, we use three ways of formulating the facts. Such formulations are called verbalizations. So the first verbalization type is the templated sentences, just as was used in the original MLLaMA paper. And we use two ways of sentence level translation. First one is Google Translate. We firstly fill in the templates in the English sentences and then translate them with NMT. And another way is ChatGPT, which we are hoping to be more consistent yet fluent in terms of the formulations of the phrases. I will firstly make few short examples where the relation formulation is only differing in the grammatical markers. And secondly, we run the constraint translation where we explicitly show how the subject and the object entities should be translated. Since each fact was verbalized in three ways, there could be up to three grammatical forms of the same object. We counted them all as the correct ones for any type of verbalization. And also to estimate the retrieval, we need to have some counterfactual objects, which are called distractors. They were sampled from the pool of objects of the same class. For example, here we are talking about the place of death. Therefore, all the incorrect objects are also representing the location names. Then for each fact, we concatenate all the correct options and the incorrect options and prompt the LLM with all of them. Then we evaluate the log probability of each object given a prompt base, rank them, and based on this ranking, compute two metrics. First is recall at n, the percentage of the correct options in top n answers. And here the higher is better, but we're also interested to see the broader trends in the correct object distributions. And for that, we compute average and percentiles. In that case, lower is better because first rank is the best option. So the initial data set was having 53 languages. We narrowed the sample down for better curation and qualitative analysis of the results. We sampled 4 Slavic languages, which are rich in morphology, and 5 non-Slavic languages, which are typologically quite diverse. The samples were checked by native or fluent speakers of the language, and Llama 2 was chosen because it explicitly stated that it was trained on all of these languages. So let's turn to the results. Firstly, let's look at the recall at 1. We can see that indeed the sentence-level translations of Google Translate or ChatGPT increase the performance in 7 out of 9 languages. The increase is up to 10% in Slavic and 24% in non-Slavic languages, and notably, Google Translate is consistently better than ChatGPT. Interestingly, this trend is stable across different values of top n. If we take top 1 to 5 answers, the deltas between different verbalization is almost always constant. Now, if we look at the rank distributions of the correct objects, and if we take the average rank of the correct object, we see the same trends, which are even more pronounced. Full sentence translation is better for all languages. We see again that the best score is for Google Translate, followed by ChatGPT, then Template. And clearly, average value is not the only informative description of the distributions, but other statistics like medians and percentiles are showing the same trends. Here you see the box plot representing the statistics for the Slavic languages about the correct ranks, and we see that it is skewed towards the first rank for the Google Translate and ChatGPT. So we got this empirical demonstration that more fluent translations help to retrieve more facts. But why was Google Translate consistently better than ChatGPT translation? The main reason was lack of consistency in the wording of the verbalizations. For example, different translations of object-named entities were chosen, or there was a bigger variation in the word order of the verbalizations there. But another interesting phenomenon that we observed was explicitation. This is a term from the translation studies, which means the case when the translators add information which was not explicitly stated in the original text to improve the clarity for the target audience. And one example was adding the information about the type of the entity here. So an English prompt that we see on the first line, it is quite clear that we're talking about the magazine. But in Russian, the templated verbalization, which you see here, is not quite clear about the type of the entity because it is just an English sequence of the words. So Google Translate adds the word journal, which means journal, and this helps to retrieve the correct fact about the original language of this journal, which is quite similar to how explicitation is working with the human speakers of the language. Now, this is it for now. In my talk, I haven't covered our experiments with the LSS of the named entities, our attempts to estimate the grammaticality of the prompts that we have created, and finally, some limitations of our research with respect to non-object final languages like Japanese, Hindi, and Turkish. For that, I'm inviting you to read our paper by the first QR code. And also, we're happy to share the curated dataset for 9 languages and all the necessary codes for our paper, which is by the second QR link. Thank you very much for your attention.